All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another great Lunch and Learn. I'm Alexa Francis House here with the Purchasing Division, and today we will be learning all about the year-end closing process, which is a very intricate process that is very near and dear to our hearts here in purchasing. So with me today, I will ask Debbie Storm, Joe Lisa Rodeline Robinson, and Irina Greenberg to go ahead and come on camera because they will be our presenters here today. So you guys can see them on their screen. They're all waving. And so I'm going to read a little bit of background about them so that you guys can get to know who will be presenting today. And then I will transfer over to them. So Debbie Storm, Debbie, if you can wave. She is currently the Administrative Officer Senior here in the Business Operations section of the Purchasing Division and has been since 2013. Prior to working in the Purchasing Division, Debbie joined the county in 2005 in the Aviation section, making this her 19th year with the county. I know, Debbie, you must be nearing that retirement countdown mode. So, Debbie manages several programs and projects in the division, including the surplus program. So that's Debbie. And Debbie, you guys are muted, by the way, just so you know. Okay. Then we have Joe Lisa there. Joe is currently an administrative coordinator with the Broward County Purchasing Division. He's a proud graduate of St. John Vianney College with a bachelor's degree in philosophy. Prior to working as an administrative coordinator, he was a library specialist. And actually, Joe is now a program project coordinator. So this has changed since the last time he gave a lunch and learn. Now he's a program project coordinator for the surplus section. And Joe was a library specialist of Broward County Libraries before. And then we have Rodeline Robinson there in the back. And Rodeline is an administrative coordinator in the purchasing division as well. And she's a graduate of Western Governors University, has a master's degree in business administration. And that's what really inspired her to pursue a career in finance and administration. Prior to working with us, she actually worked for water and wastewater operations and has a diversity, equity, and inclusion certification. And then last but not least is Irina Greenberg there waving in her beautiful, we've been teasing her about her luxurious condo background she's got going on. Irina is currently the Information Systems Administrator for the Purchasing Division. She came to us from the Soviet Union a little over 30 years ago. She has bachelor's and master's degrees in economics and accounting from Kyiv Economics and Trade University, has been working with PeopleSoft in technical and functional capacity for 24 years, and has been with the county for 5.5 years in purchasing for just over 2 of those years. 6.5. 6.5 now, okay. And prior to that, she worked in ERP. So that is our team of experts that will be presenting today. I'm going to go ahead and ask them to share their screen. They have prepared a very good presentation for you guys. And if you have any burning questions while they're presenting, please feel free to type those in the chat. We'll address those towards the end. So without further ado, turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, Alexa. Hello, everybody. Our agenda today is going to address some important information for you to manage your requisition and PO inventory for a smooth transition into fiscal year 2025. We'll review the communications you received from the Purchasing Division, details of the requisition and the PO, understanding and resolving budget errors, how to modify your PO and resolve PO errors. We'll provide fiscal year and critical dates and resources. Then Irina will share with us details of an exciting workshop she's hosting next month. And finally, we'll wrap up with some Q&A. So the PO modification team sends out communications on a recurring basis throughout the year as reminders to attend to important tasks. The distribution list includes agency directors, contract administrators, project managers, cabs, requesters, and other roles in the PeopleSoft Purchasing and Financials module. Some of the communications we send out, the budget error report and how to resolve budget errors. We provide links to resources and a list of reports to monitor your transactions. We keep you updated on POs with low encumbrances and no activity. And consider removing these POs, removing the remaining imbalance from these POs so it returns to the contract threshold in your budget if the PO has no additional activity. Fiscal year action items, we provide you the appropriate action for your purchase orders. Voucher receipt mismatch communication, we provide a report and instruction to resolve those errors. And sourcing error report provides a report of requisition errors and direction on how to resolve those. If you don't currently receive these communications and would like to, email the team at PO_modification_request@broward.org. And right now I'll turn it over to Joe, who's going to talk about requisition and purchase order details.
Thank you, Debbie. Get into the requisition details. I'm going to start with the requisition manage page. You can review the lifespan of a requisition to determine which activities have taken place by opening at the drop-down arrow next to the requisition number, which can be located here. The requisition has been this requisition has been submitted and approved. It is waiting to have the PO created and dispatched to the vendor. You will notice that the requisition and approval sections are highlighted in blue and all the other portions of the life cycle are grayed out, indicating that no action has been taken. Also, please note that the life cycle shows you the entire life cycle of the PO up through and including payment. In the manage requisitions page, you can review the lifespan of a requisition to determine which activities have taken place by opening the drop-down menu next to the requisition. This requisition has been submitted and you have approved, cancel, copy, edit, and view print as your options. Moving on, we can go into the components of the PO when you go into the PO inquiry status. The PO header has a lot of information. It includes the business unit, PO ID, the purchase order and budget status, which can be located here, the PO date, supplier, buyer information, the receipt status, which is located here, as well as links for documents and other details, which are these set of hyperlinks located right here. One of the more useful links is the activity summary, which will open a separate tab that shows the amounts received and vouchered against the PO, which is this link here. You also have the line details down here, which give you the individual lines with the amounts purchased. And at the very end here is a schedule. When you follow this link, it'll take you to the chart fields. Speaking of the chart fields, we're going to get into budget errors and how best to resolve them. In the PO inquiry under PO dispatch, you will see the budget status fields and the PO status fields. The PO status fields include open, pending approval, dispatched, and complete. The budget status includes valid, budget not checked, and error. This is where you'd find the budget status. The error status provides a hyperlink, which will give you and when you click on this hyperlink, you'll get a pop-up window, which will bring you to the purchase order exceptions tab. When you come to this tab, you do not want to click on the exception type. Please leave that as is. The exceptions column the exceptions column here will tell you the type of budget error that exists on the PO, And these are the four most common types of budget errors. You have exceeds budget tolerance, budget date out of bounds, no budget exists, and the budget is closed. Please note that no budget exists and the budget is closed are the only two times the PO modification team is authorized to change chart fields, and we only do this when working directly with OMB on resolving in budget errors. Speaking of your chart fields, you can minimize your budget errors by working with your agency, budget analyst, and project manager to ensure the correct chart fields are used. Please note that there are three mandatory parts of a chart field: the fund, the department, and the account. Again, your agency, budget analyst, and project manager can provide any additional sections of a chart field that may be required. Please verify that you are using the correct chart fields when creating your requisitions. If you use the wrong chart fields and it does not result in error, you will need to cancel the requisition and any sourced POs and submit a new requisition with the appropriate chart fields. The PO modification team is not authorized to modify chart fields. From here, we're going to get into modifying your purchase orders, which Rodeline is going to go ahead and cover for us.
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to describe to you how to request a purchase order modification. There are three ways to request a modification to your purchase orders. You can request by Contract Central, catalog change order request, also known as your CCORs, and by emailing the PO modification team. In Contract Central is where you submit PO actions to be reduced to close and canceled. What it's not used for is closing, canceling, and decreasing lines. PO actions procedures can be found on the BCNet purchasing webpage. Should you need access to submit a PO action request, you may download a Contract Central access form and submit it to contractcentral@broward.org for approval. When requesting a CCOR, a catalog requisition must be created in the current fiscal year, and a contract must be linked to the requisition. A successful approval of a CCOR will result in a purchase order in dispatch status and a valid budget status. The requester will increase and decrease lines through the Manage Requisition Edit function in PeopleSoft. You may download the CCOR Quick Guide from the BCNet purchasing webpage. Please note, requisition lines cannot be reduced to 0. Doing so will cause system errors that will lock the requisition, requiring the requisition and the purchase order to be closed out, resulting in multiple agency assistance to readjust the budget lines. The checklist shown here on how to avoid errors can be found on BCNet purchasing webpage. For a successful CCOR, the contract must be active, in approval status, the contract pricing is being used, and the contract header and line threshold is sufficient. If all goes well, the CCOR will result in a dispatch and valid budget status. Here are ways to determine the type of error message on a CCOR. You can utilize the sourcing error reports that is emailed to requesters daily, and by reviewing in PeopleSoft where you can run a query report. This would be this report here, the BC_PV_change request. The third way to request help is by emailing the PO modification team. You may request lines to be canceled and reduced to close, and for technical matters such as troubleshooting issues with your requisition and purchase orders. This is how a purchase order looks when it's reduced to close. By clicking on the hyperlink here, This will bring up the activity summary, which will show this page. The merchandise amount, receipt, and invoice will all be equal. The remaining encumbrance is returned to the budget and contract threshold. The encumbrance will be zero and it will be moved to complete status at fiscal year end. It is important to note that CABs are responsible for reducing their own purchase orders. POs with a zero encumbrance do not need to be requested to close, and once the PO is canceled, it cannot be modified or have future activities. Thank you for your time. Back to you, Joe.
Now we're going to cover a few additional purchase order errors. You meant starting with the mismatch on receipt vouchers. In order for a PO to get to a zero encumbrance balance, the PO amount must be equal to the receipt and the voucher created by accountant. This is called a three-way match. You can use these queries to see all the information to follow up with your requesters, receivers, and accountant division to ensure a three-way match on your POs. It is only when a PO has a three-way match and zero encumbrance balance that it will properly close out at fiscal year end. And these queries you can run are the BCAP receipt not vouchered and BCAP match log exceptions reports. Source and requisition error report is received twice daily at 12:15 and 17:15 p.m. by requesters. The requisition will the cause of source and errors can only be corrected on requisitions after the source and error has been cleared, and requisition errors will keep a requisition from sourcing to a PO. Purchasing clears the source and errors twice daily at 8:45 a.m. and 1:15 p.m. The requisition error report provides reasons why the requisition is in error. In the above example report is listed of the most common source and errors, which is current date is past PO unavailable. This indicates the contract or lines are expired. Work with the agent on the contract to resolve this error. You also have the specified contract is not valid at this time. This will also require you to work with the agent on the contract to correct as the contract is most likely not in approved status. A contract is required indicates that the requisition or PO is not linked to a contract and will require the requisition and PO to be canceled and reissued. And the most common is going to be contract maximum exceeded, which indicates not enough funds are remaining on either the contract threshold or the line thresholds. And you will need to work with the agent on the contract to resolve this issue as well. We're finally going to get into some of the fiscal year key end dates and resources, which Debbie is going to go over.
Thank you, Joe. The fiscal year end key dates and milestone schedule was emailed on June 16th from the organizational change management email box. You can also find the milestone schedule on the purchasing division BCNet webpage. The schedule lists deadline dates to take action on requisitions, POs, receivers, P-card transactions and travel, cash deposits, vouchers, and payroll. Keep this schedule handy to review the dates carefully to ensure your transactions will successfully be processed. Some key dates we want to highlight. The last day to submit special requisitions to purchasing is July 8th. That has passed. They must have been in approved status by division level 2 and in the purchasing work list. The deadline to request POs to be closed by purchasing is August 30th. After August 30th until September 30th at 5 p.m., the PO modification team is working to close everything that has been requested So everything that is requested after 8:30, if we can get to it, we will. Okay, as time permits, all requisitions need to be sourced to a PO by September 13th. Catalog requisitions and CAB POs must be fully approved and dispatched. You have until September 24th to cancel fiscal year 24 requisitions, and October 11th is the deadline to enter receivers. PeopleSoft will be offline on September 22nd, 27th. Keep a note of that. And all POs without errors will roll into fiscal year 25. If the budget will, check if the budget will be supported for the POs that are rolling into 25. These are important dates for P-card and travel-related transactions. All travel authorizations will roll over to fiscal year 25 on October 1st. Expense reports for travel in fiscal year 24 must be approved by October 4th. P-card transactions must be approved, budget checked, and reconciled by October 9th. On the Purchasing Division BCNet webpage, we have fiscal year closing resources for the processes we reviewed today, including the CCOR quick guide, a checklist and a training presentation, Contract Central PO modification procedures, resolving budget errors, and how to run reports in PeopleSoft with a list of important queries to review. And we include also from the OMB Office of Management Budget, the capital and equivalent funds for 2024. Now I'm going to turn it over to Irina, who has exciting news about an upcoming workshop.
Once again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Debbie, Alexa, Joe, Rodeline for putting together an amazing presentation. And I think all of you need to keep it handy because it covers every single area. And you will always find the resources and the people that you need to contact if any issue or you have any questions. And I see that questions are popping up in the meeting chat. Please submit all your questions to the PO modification team. So speaking of the best practices of year-end closing, we usually, as you know, the biggest process of the year is the PO rollover. And in the prior years, we talk about the PO rollover after it happened, and we're trying to address the issues that happened during the PO rollover, and we talk about them. This year, we decided to do things slightly different. And based on the multiple questions that I'm getting during the year, things that I'm seeing in the system during the year, every year we're trying to put more and more kind of preventive actions, preventing matters in order for the PO rollover to go as smoothly as possible. There still could be hiccups, and sometimes things are due to the PO inventory not being checked properly, or some of the things like a system would disqualify purchase orders based on different criteria. And this is something that this year we would like to talk about prior to the PO rollover to as much as possible to avoid the common mistakes or incorrect processing. That's why we are going to have the workshop on Wednesday, August 18th of 2024.
Hi, I'm sorry, Irina. The date is actually incorrect on the slide. It's Wednesday, August 14th.
August
And I've
14th.
also typed that in the chat for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Alexa. But in order to address the biggest areas, the biggest issue, because we have only 1 hour, we would like you to do two things. One is to take the survey, and Alexa pasted the link to the survey in the chat. And second, submit all your questions to the PO modification team so we can group them and see, because I'm sure that some questions will be coming very similar to each other from different areas. So to help us, to help you, we need to get as many questions, as many concerns from you as possible, so we can address them during the year end closing and PO rollover. And during the PO rollover, I'm hoping to have someone from the budget, from OMB team, and from accounting, so that they will be able to answer the business-related questions as well as the systems, to just assist everyone in understanding of all the processes and what's going to happen in the new fiscal year. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina. So we'll go through now. We can open it up for some Q&A. Alexa, do you have any questions in the chat? Irina said they were coming in like hotcakes.
Yep, we've have several questions for
Irina.
you guys. So the first question I see here is, will a copy of the presentation be available? Absolutely. What we do after each lunch and learn is we will provide you guys with a copy of the presentation as well as a link to our purchasing division lunch and learn YouTube playlist, so that you, if you want to go ahead and watch this particular session again, or if you want to forward the link to someone else who it may be relevant to, that you can do so. So thank you for that question. The next question is, can you do a budget check on a requisition before creating the purchase order?
Well, the budget check must happen at the requisition. Requisition has to have a valid budget status, and it has to be approved before the purchase order is created. Otherwise, the PO will not be created.
Okay, so the next question is, all requesters can now initiate catalog change order request action. It used to be only those who were approved and completed a class.
Okay, the access is provided to everyone that has the requester role in PeopleSoft. It is encouraged that you go through and review the materials we have on our website. And the access is provided only for you to modify your own requisitions. You can't modify requisitions that have been created by other requesters in your division.
Okay, can you request for a PO to increase funds, or a new PO is necessary?
You can request an increase for a catalog PO through a CCOR. When you do that, you want to make sure that you check the contract lines and make sure that there's enough funds, because oftentimes when there's an error on that, that's the most common error, is there wasn't enough money on the contract line, and your CCR will get hung up in the CCR process if it doesn't clear any of all the source and error possibilities.
All right,
Joe,
next, go ahead. Go ahead,
I just,
Irina.
sorry, I would like to add to that. Joe was talking about the purchase orders that have current year requisitions linked to it. After the PO is rolled, so for all purchase orders that are rolled from prior years, there is no longer requisition, so CCOR cannot be created. In this case, the new requisition is created and needs to be requested to be sourced to the same PO.
Okay, next question. What happens if we submit purchase orders to be closed after 8:30? I don't know if you guys want to, if the team wants to go back and flip to that particular slide with the dates. If these POs are forced closed at the end of the fiscal year, will the encumbrance balance go back to the contract threshold?
Well,
Right.
let me.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Irina.
Thank you. I'm speaking to the second part. The encumbrance balance will go back to the budget. So there are two things that are tied to the PO. One is a budget, with the encumbrance represents the remaining budget amount on the PO. The second is the contract. Contract is controlling how much can be spent on the PO. So there are two controls. One is from budget, one is from the contract. If the PO is force closed, the encumbrance will go back to the budget, but it will not replenish the contract maximum threshold. So PO needs to be reduced where possible in order for both budget and contract to get the funds back. And Debbie, could you please address the date?
Right, so on August 30th, that's the last day to submit your request in Contract Central PO modifications module. Starting now, we do this every day, but after August 30th, we need time to be sure we close all of those before September 30th, when the year ends. If we reduce them to close, your encumbrance will return to the budget and the contract. So that's always encouraged. And then, as Irina said, and we said in the presentation, POs that are closed during the fiscal year process after September 30th go into a complete status. So if you don't meet the 8:30 deadline, we usually try to get everything closed that comes in, but sometimes, up until September 30th, we get pretty tight with time. So try to get them in before August 30th. That'll help the team get everything done that you need to be done.
And what else is going to happen? So starting last year, because different years we were treating that issue differently. In the prior years, all the operating POs have been closed and only capital POs are being rolled. It was decided last year that both operating and capital POs will be rolled unless they're requested to be reduced and closed. But what's going to happen in the new fiscal year, if there is no budget allocated for those operating POs that are rolled, they will be sitting in the budget status and either will have to be overridden by OMB and closed, or there will be zero lines where you will move the budget from the existing budget lines into that in order to cover that PO deficit amount in the new fiscal year. So both capital and operating POs will be rolled, except for certain exceptions based on the PO last activity date and the encumbrance balance.
Okay, so the next question is, when will the agencies be able to close out their own POs? Not including the POs we can reduce to close through the catalog change order request process.
Irina, I'm gonna leave that one to you, please.
Well, we have a few agencies, kind of pilot agencies, where they can work on reducing and closing their POs. But in order to do that, they need to be very well trained, because that access is giving only to the people that know what are the processes, what is the way to close the POs, and you can submit requests to the purchasing, to the assistant director, and we will look at it at case by case basis to allow that access to the agencies.
I'd also like to tag on to this, that all the requesters can actually, for their catalog POs, reduce them to close through the CCOR process, as long as they're in the current fiscal year. So if you've fully received, but there's still an encumbrance left, you can submit a CCOR to bring the PO down to bring the requisition down to the received amount on the PO. And then that'll update the PO through the CCOR process, and it'll be at a reduced to close with a zero encumbrance.
Okay, the next question is, since October 4th is the last day to clear all PO-related AP vouchers, match exceptions, budget check errors resolved, how can a receiver be entered up to 10/11?
Irina, can you get that one?
Well, I believe, David, this is what you're doing every year, because by default, the receiver can be backdated up to 5 days. During the month of October, and David, please correct me if I'm wrong, you are changing that to 30 days?
Yes.
Okay. And did this answer your question?
Diane, if that answers your question or doesn't answer your question, if you could elaborate in the chat for us.
No, because the backdating ends on 10 where are we here? Hold on, where am I? I just lost it. But if you have to clear everything by the 4th, now you can do payment requests up to the 11th. But not see, the two dates seem to conflict. If you have to have everything cleared by the 4th, it doesn't feel like you can enter a receiver after the 4th unless it's for a payment request, which is not a receiving document.
Maybe that's a question that you guys can table for the workshop, or Irina, you wanna address that offline?
I was going to suggest that, Diane, we can have an offline conversation with examples, and also we can definitely address it at the workshop,
Okay.
because
So
it's
the
a
next-
very common question.
Yeah, the next question here is, why is there always a long delay for the catalog change order request to be applied to the PO after the quantity change has been approved with no budget errors?
Here, I'll take that one. Once you submit the change order, the requisition, it then goes through your approval process. Once the approval process is done, we have to wait until an update takes place in PeopleSoft, then it comes over to our side and we process the CCORs for the business units. We try to do that 2 to 3 times a week. And as we get closer to fiscal year end, we do it more frequently. But the delay is usually because of when it's getting put on our list to be processed versus when you submitted it and the approvals in between.
All right, next question. Back to the CCOR response. I also recall that there were glitches in the CCOR process and was advised at one time to skip the CCOR action and create a new PO. Have those glitches been resolved?
Yes, we, like Joe said, we're processing CCORs, on a regular basis. So I would encourage you to, if you want to speak with us offline, please contact us at the email or give us a call. We can help you work through the system or any glitches that you're going through.
Yeah, and this is also going to be specific to the POs. And this is why it's important to check your contracts before you do a CCOR. Because if you end up in a sourcing requisition with the CCOR and it can't be fixed, and we have to go in and deny the change, then that kills any further changes that can be done with that requisition and PO. Which is why you want to get it right the first time, so which makes it imperative that you always double check the contracts.
The next question I see here is, what report can we run to check rolled POs for PO requested rollover?
I'll take that one. So you can run the PO encumbrance, the open line encumbrance report. And if you will just limit to the date October 1st, because every single PO that is rolled into the new fiscal year is going to have an accounting date of 1/1 and the fiscal year. So this year is going to be a 1/1 10/1 2024, October 1st, 2024. And 99.9% of the open encumbrance will be for the roll POs, because in order to create a regular PO, the requisition needs to be created in a new fiscal year. It needs to be approved and sourced to PO. So the chances are that there will be closer to none regular.
Okay, and I've
Request.
dropped.
So
the
if you
name
will
of-
run the open line. Sorry?
I'm sorry, Irina, you had cut out for a second. I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
I've dropped the name of that report in the chat, PO open line encumbrance report, if you guys wanna, copy and paste that so that you have that for your records. I want to do a time check here. We have about 3 minutes left of this scheduled session. Of course, we in the purchasing division are happy to stay on, for a little bit longer, to work through these questions. But if you have to get off, not to worry, today's session is being recorded. And what's great as well is that we have created that survey link for you all. So these kinds of questions pertaining to the year-end closing process, feel free to type those into that survey, and then we can collect those and address those at that workshop that's coming in a couple weeks if you do have to pop off. So just want to let everyone know we're all aware of the time, but we're happy to stay on a few minutes longer to make sure that we get through the list of questions here in the chat. All right, so the next question is, why does it take so long to get a response from PO modification request at Broward.org? I never know who's responding, why the anonymity. Responses are always so vague, and I usually have to use other sources for resolution.
Right, so keep in mind, we try to answer all our requests within 24 hours. We try to meet every deadline. If it is taking longer than you expected, please give us a call and push it through. But you shouldn't have to go to other resources to get your issues resolved. Just if it's not going fast enough for you, please give us a call. We'll work with you directly.
And the next question I'm seeing here is, what was mentioned about PO mods and Contract Central? It's seeming like they didn't know that they were supposed to do it in Contract Central and not in PeopleSoft. If you could elaborate on that. And the follow-up question is, how do they get access to Contract Central?
Okay, I'll ask you to repeat the first half of that.
Sure. They're asking for clarification on PO mods and Contract Central. They thought those were conducted in PeopleSoft.
Right, so Contract Central is the module allows you to review your purchase orders. It provides you a list. You could go into that list, select the purchase orders that you would like us to reduce to close. Those will come in a report to us, and we'll mark them complete once we complete that activity. And the other part of the question, how did they get access? There was a slide in this presentation, the link, the purchasing division webpage has, here it is, the Contract Central PO Actions Module Procedures. It has the access form, and where you send it is to contractcentral@broward.org.
Okay. And so this is someone's question about getting access to Contract Central. We can address that offline. What happens to fiscal year 24 POs with errors mismatched in the new fiscal year?
I'll take that. Candace, I believe this, you were talking about that issue when the PO is received, invoiced, vouchered, and matched, and that mismatch had a discrepancy on the third and fourth decimals, and that was disqualifying the POs from being rolled. So in the prior years, we were running the update behind the scenes to eliminate those POs that eliminate chance of PO being disqualified. But since then, we had a fix from Oracle that was applied. So this year, it should not be an issue. But we will go through a couple of rounds, at least couple of rounds of testing to make sure that this is no longer an issue.
Okay, next question. Will POs that are reduced to the close amount, do not have an encumbrance balance, and are in a dispatch status be moved to a complete status during a batch run of some type? How often does that batch run occur?
I believe Joe is running the PO close report that closes every single PO that is fully received the voucher and paid and has $0 encumbrance balance. Not sure if Joe has that process scheduled or and we are running it all the way up to September 30th.
Irina, are we talking about the PO reconciliation?
PO recon, yeah, PO recon.
Yeah,
PO close.
We started last year, we only do that at as we get towards the end of the fiscal year close, because there were some issues on, I think you said it was accountant side, where they were having issues getting some vouchers cleared against stuff that the payments checked out against the POs that were at zero encumbrance and were closed out. So now we wait until the very last minute to do that.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Okay, question about how to get access to Contract Central.
That's on the screen, Alexa.
Okay, can you drop the link, that Contract Central access request form link in the chat, please? For the person. Thank you. When a PO is requested to be closed, is the first step to reduce it to the paid amount. There have been some misses in POs are closed with an encumbrance amount.
Yes, we were discussing that mostly, and this is the first step to reduce the PO to the amount received and vouchered before it gets closed. In some rare cases, especially that those POs are rolled from prior years, they could be created 2017, 2018, and something happened in those years. There are some cases that purchase orders have to be force closed, and in which case Joe and Debbie are advising the agencies that this PO cannot be rolled and cannot be reduced. So maybe the replacement PO for the balance needs to be created.
All right, so those are all the questions I'm seeing here in the chat. Thank you very much to our PO modification team, which consists of, Irina, Debbie, Joe, Rodeline, for presenting here today to you guys about, general understanding of the year-end closing process. I have dropped in the chat a couple of times here the link to that survey that we are compiling that where you guys have the opportunity to actually give us, your feedback, tell us if you have any additional questions about the process, anything that you're still not really sure about, feel free to enter that information there. And then we will address it in another session similar to this one, where you will walk through those best practices for your in closing and then address all of those questions that we did not have the opportunity to do today. Thank you very much to the team, and we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, August 14th, I believe it is, not August 18th. Yes, Wednesday, August 14th.
Thank you everyone for attending the meeting, and we'll be talking at the workshop.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Alexa.
Bye.